Tomlinson from Greenwood Bonsai Studio in Nottingham. I'm going to do another little video for you, a snapshot of a tree that we've known for many years. This particular tree here was created and styled by my father, Harry Tomlinson. It features in his book, The Complete Book of Bonsai, and this photograph in here was taken 32 years ago. And here it is 32 years ago in a shallow Japanese container. It's a Chinese Juniper. It's planted on a piece of Japanese ibigawa rock. And there's two other plantings with it. We've got the Chinese Juniper here. We've got a Shojibai Dwarf Japanese Quince that has a red flower. And on the left hand side here we've got a Korean Hornbeam that has nice autumn colour. So this particular tree, the composition, we've got an evergreen main tree. We've got an underplanting here that has bright colour in spring, and we've got the Korean Hornbeam that has a bright colour leaf in autumn. So it's a very nice seasonal tree. Over the last year, this has just been left to grow unchecked. Yeah, it's put quite a lot of growth on. You can see if I turn it round, so you can see the back. There's quite a bit of extension growth on the main tree and on the underplantings. Currently, at this time of year, this has got a natural sort of bronze cast to the foliage. It's completely normal, just because we've had some cold weather, a little bit of frost. This will go green again. And this is currently in my studio for working on, for trimming. I'm going to thin out this top section to get more definition into it. We're going to take these deciduous sections at the lower area. We're going to cut these back, and we're also going to tidy up the rock, the surface roots, and it's also going to have a repot. So this is it before we start any of that procedure, and it'll be an ongoing project, and we'll show you how it develops over the next few hours. Thank you. So this Chinese Juniper that we've been working on, introduced you to it earlier. I've spent this weekend just working on it in between customers. I've spent about 2.5 hours trimming it, and so far, when you're looking from the front of the tree in here, you'll notice I've pretty much trimmed the right hand side. So from this vertical line, all on this side, I've started to thin the growth out. We've got rid of these long wispy bits of growth, and I've trimmed from the apex down here on the right hand side of the tree and continued around here to the mid line on the rear of the tree. Yeah? And then if I follow it round, you can see here the section that I haven't yet trimmed with all these long shoots on it. And when I trim this tree, what I'm trying to look for, I'm cutting out old bits of growth and dead twigs, twigs that are crossing over and untidy, weak growth, but I'm also cutting out growth that's very strong. So to balance the vigour of this tree, really strong growing tips, I'm trimming them back to get a uniform vigour across the tree. Also, very importantly, I'm trying to get a uniform density to this tree. So when I start trimming it, I'm trying to make this the same sort of density as this, so that we don't have bare sections and heavy sections. I'll show you a little section that we'll trim now. So if we go in here, on this left hand side, an area that we haven't yet trimmed, and we'll find a branch to work on. So we'll start on like this branch here. Can you see there's quite a lot of clutter in there? This hasn't been trimmed for a good few years. So I'm going to start off by taking out some of these cluttered sections, and a little wispy bit like this we don't need. There's a section under there we don't need, and some of these little wispy bits you can pull out with your fingertips. Other sections need pruning. I'm going to get rid of that section in there altogether. So we've tidied it up to this sort of thing. This is growing down a little bit too much, we can trim this off. And then these sections on the end, these tips, I'm just going to go in with a fine pair of scissors and trimming at an angle. I'm just going to take these back, further back like this. And then some of these other sections here, I don't mind just giving it a little bit of a pinch on these tips, just to reduce those back a little bit further. And then that section there just wants trimming. So something like that, just to get that under control. You see, it's a lot neater, more organised and cleaner And once we've done this procedure, a possible second procedure after this would be then to wire the branch. And now, once it's trimmed like this, we can get in there with wire a lot easier and wire through and position that branch if we need to. Okay, so on this branch here on the left hand side, I've trimmed this lower section here into here. Now we're going to step up and trim this next branch above. So I can part the foliage like this with my hand, and can you see here, this bit here is dead, so that can be trimmed off. There's a little wispy bit here and here, and some of these little wispy bits we can prune with a pair of scissors. I don't need that section in there. This one here is not really offering us much. That bit there is a little dead stub. Let's trim that a bit neater, this a bit neater, get rid of this section. This little bit's growing in the nook and cranny of that little branch. Get rid of this here. That's a dead piece, so that can come out, it's got no growth on it. And then this section here, these tips, we can go in with a fine pair of scissors, look, and just trim those back. And then this one here, as I said earlier, you can still see this has got some winter colour on it. These tips are just like bronze. That's perfectly okay. That's just a winter colour. It's starting to turn green now as we go into spring and the weather starts to warm up. This section here can come back. This bit here, just taking back some of those stronger shoots to balance the vigour. Some of these other little bits here, we can just give those a light pinch with the fingertips. So once we've done that, we've now got this section here trimmed, tidied to that sort of level. It's just a matter of working my way through the tree, getting that sort of, trimming it back like that and getting that sort of same density throughout. Okay, so I'm back in the studio today. I've still been working on this Chinese Juniper Psyche planting. If you remember, this is one that was in my father's book. We've owned this tree for over 50 years. And over the last few days, I've just managed to finish off the pruning of the tree. So now, the top of this tree is all nicely cleaned out. We've trimmed back the new growth. We've cut out any dead growth, any crossing branches. So that's all fairly organised. And the next procedure really with this tree is to repot it. It's been in this pot for probably, I think, about 6 or 7 years, so it's definitely due for a repot. So I'm just going to show you the procedure to do that. So first of all, we need a pair of wire cutters or wire scissors, because it will be wired into the pot. So let's have a look. It's quite a large tree. It's on a heavy piece of rock, so it's a little bit difficult as a one-person job. Let's have a look. It's still quite tight in that pot. I've cut the wire, but it's not wanting to budge at the moment. So we can use a little potting sickle, and we can just run this round the edge of the pot, just to help loosen the edge of the root ball. Work our way around the edge like this. As we do this, it just trims a few little roots. There's a slight incurved lip on this pot, so this just cuts the roots that are growing up under that lip, so that we can get the tree out of the pot a little bit easier. We've gone round once. Let's just see if that's enough. Sometimes it is, sometimes we have to go round again. Let's go round again, a little bit deeper. Hopefully we can get this front edge just to pop out this pot. So I'm holding the tree quite high up the tree and just pop it out the pot like so, nice and easy. So the tree's quite heavy, so you just get it behind that rock and lift it out onto the work table. And then the pot, we can just put that down to one side for a minute. So the next job is to comb these roots out. So we've got the root system in front of us. Easiest thing with a large tree like this, just get it to the edge of the table, and then I've got this root ball hanging over the edge of the table, and then with a root hook we can just start, as we always do, at the base of the tree, or the base of the rock in this case, just combing the soil out to the perimeter, to the edge of the root ball. It's a little bit different with this tree because obviously we've got 3 trees in here. They've all got their own root systems. This little bit here is a root sucker from that quince over on this side. So let's see if we can have we might be able to have a little dig around there. Sometimes you can get these out with roots on. I don't know if we will be able to in this case. So we'll just cut it off, low down into there and get rid of it. So again, working your way around. If I show you here the root ball, now the tree's out of the pot, you see it's got quite a mat of roots coming around the edge of the root ball here, quite a lot of roots underneath. You can see the old bits of mesh that were going over the drainage holes so they can come out, and with a root hook, once we've gone around the edge, we can start to tease out some of these roots underneath the root ball to get rid of this old soil. And this is going to allow us to get new compost incorporated in to the root system of the tree. So just a matter of persevering, combing it out so we can give these roots a bit of a trim. So once the roots are combed out like this, we can come in with a pair of good heavy duty root scissors, and we can start to trim into the edge of the root ball like so. Just working our way round the tree, and again just doing it over the edge of the table, so these roots that I'm cutting off can just drop into a bin. Some people struggle with these large trees when they repot them, and you'll find that a lot of this repotting procedure is just down to technique, and if you get the technique right, you know, then potting this this 2-man tree can become a 1-man job. So with it combed out, I've trimmed around the edge of the root ball, and there's some tough roots underneath, so just going through those. This is going to allow us to get some fresh soil compost underneath the tree. It's a fairly shallow pot that we took it out of, that it's going to go back into. Finished trimming the root ball with the scissors, and we've got it down to this sort of diameter, back to a sort of a nucleus of root. And now with the next procedure in the repotting process, I'm going to lift the tree to one side, we're going to get the pot organised, and we're going to get some compost mixed up. Okay, so the compost for this juniper, I'm going to use a mixture of akadama. This is a hard quality akadama, quite a hard particle. I'm going to use a 50-50 mixture of this. So a bag of akadama. I'm going to mix that with a bag of kiryu. And kiryuzuna is a similar substrate to akadama. It's even harder particle, it doesn't break down as quickly. So for a juniper, a tree that we're going to repot every probably 6 or 7 years, that's going to be a better mix. So 50-50 mix of the kiryu and akadama, and just put a bag full of each into a mixing tray and just work that through, mixing it together so we've got good even distribution of the 2 different substrates. now we've finished mixing the soil, I'm just going to prepare the pot for the tree. So where the trees come out of it before, look, just give it a bit of a brush out, yeah, and tidy up. Just check it that it's not got any damage or any cracks. This sounds pretty good. That's not cracked, it's in good condition. We can use it again. So we'll just clean the outside of the pot. Don't need to use any detergent or anything, just a damp cloth, just to bring out the colour of the pot and tidy it up, like so. And we talked before about handmade pots like this having a front and a back, and this particular pot, this side here, the glaze is like a dark grey and it breaks like a bronze on this band, and you get a bit more of it on this side than you do on this side here. So I'm going to use that to you as the front of the pot. So let me turn that round back to me so I can remember. And next thing is to get some wire into the pot to secure the tree, and it's quite a heavy tree. We'll use a bit of 2.5mm wire, and we'll put a piece through these wire holes just here underneath, through these little wire holes. Put a piece of wire there, look, and then another piece. You always find it easy if you've got those wire holes there and you just measure it like that inside the pot, and then you can just turn the pot over, thread them straight through, nice and organised. Then we need to cover the drainage holes up with some mesh. So just as we've done before, we've got 3 large drainage holes down the centre line of this pot. So we'll use 3 bits of mesh for those. 1, 2, 3. And then these smaller holes, just a couple of pieces to cover those up. And then we're going to put some wire, little wire hold, little twisty wire things to hold this mesh down into the pot. And the way I do mine is I cut a piece of 2mm wire and just bend it like this, like that, and we end up with something like this. Once we've got this sort of thing, we then just pop that up through the drainage hole like so. You will probably see some people do a similar sort of piece of wire, but they put it in the other way round. I put mine in this way round so the sharp edges of the wire are inside the pot. And then if you look underneath the pot, yeah, you've just got the round piece of wire under the pot. Okay, so I've now got all the drainage holes in the pot meshed, and if you look on the underside, my little wire twists all nice and neat there, and there's no sharp edges when I've put them through this way. So if I display this tree on a wooden display table, these won't have any ends that will scratch the table, or if we display the tree on a cloth display table at a show or something, it just stops it snagging. Okay, so we've got the empty pot. We use our soil cream that we've mixed up. Again, we said it was a 50% mix of Akadama, 50% mix of Kiryazuna, and we put a little bit of that in the bottom of the pot. Mound it up a little bit. A lot of people will put this in the pot and then sort of flatten it all out and press it down. I deliberately mound it up like this so that we can get the tree and just settle the tree down onto this mound of soil. The trick is to put enough in, and but not too much. So I'll just grab the tree. So back with the tree, look, and the front of the pot is towards me. So if I get the tree like this on the mound of soil, and then as we squidge it down onto that mound of soil, it will compress the soil a little bit, and it will get rid of any air pockets underneath the root system, so it's nice and solid in there. And then I want to have a look at it, make sure we've got it in the right position in the pot, and check that the front of the tree is to the front of the pot, and we've got the right angle and everything like that. I'm happy with that. So once I'm happy with that, we can then fill in with some bonsai mix. And around this side and then using a potting stick, you can use a chopstick, but on a tree this sort of size, a pot this sort of size, I tend to use a bit of a chunkier potting stick and just work our way around, just working the akadama down between these roots. If it makes it easier for you, you can of course you can put a turntable underneath this tree when you're doing it, but with the weight of this tree and the rock, I'm not using a turntable underneath it. It does make it a little bit harder for me, but it does make it more stable when I'm working on it. So I'll just turn it round on my workbench. But if you're doing this on a kitchen table at home, you definitely need to put something underneath it, or you'll definitely get telling off. Around the back of the tree, carry on with a potting stick. Look, you can see the soil level dropping down as we're working the soil between the roots of the tree. Once we've done that, we can get these wires. These are going to anchor the tree into the pot, and we can bring this wire across from the front over the top of the root ball. We're going to bring this up to meet it at a right angle. So we get those wires like this and just pull so they're tight, and then twist with some wire pliers to tighten it up further, like so. Once that's tight and secure, we can snip off this excess wire and push that into the soil. And then same with this one. Look, we're going to bring this across up to here. Hold it with the pliers and twist it together and leave it under the soil. Okay, so we've got the tree repotted now into a new soil mixture. We've cleaned the pot up, just put it on display here against the bamboo background so you can see compare it as a before and after photograph. The next stage of development for this tree will be to wire it and to shape it. We've managed to get quite good density and shape into this tree just by this pruning process that I've done. But now, having repotted it, we're going to let it just grow into this soil and settle into this pot for this coming growing season, with a view to probably wiring these branches and shaping them probably autumn in a few months' time. So I hope you've enjoyed this video of this Chinese juniper. We've owned the tree for over 50 years. It was one of my father's favourite trees, and it's now one of mine. Even the little quince here is just bursting into flower over the last few weeks.